Hi, it's Su Trung here. Thank you for coming to my show today. It's the Commercial Financing Experts Academy. Today, I'm going to present a little bit of answer about some of the commonly asked questions. The frequently asked questions that I come across with are these three typically right now, especially during this economic time that we're currently experiencing. And a lot of investors come across my desk because I also run the Synergy Real Estate Network, right? Tongue twist in its own, not quite, but it's sometimes say fast enough is a little bit harder. So what are the three questions that investors have asked me recently? One of the biggest thing they ask is, why should I invest in commercial property? They've always invest in residential because they understand it best. It's easy. They have purchased the house. They know how the process works. It's very simple. Whereas commercial is a little bit more complicated and requires two sets of lawyers. So it's not that easy. And they always ask, so why are you always saying it's better to invest in commercial property? Well, especially today, right? In today's climate, it's probably not the best scenario that we currently have to use. But the biggest thing that I have to say is that investing in commercial property is very stable overall. In generally speaking, 50, 100 years, multifamily especially, that's considered commercial, right? You talk about apartment buildings, sixplex and upwards. People live in those places. They really don't go away. Office building, even in today's economic time right now through the pandemic, they actually still work in the office. Maybe not receive so many clients anymore or customers, right? But they still go to work there, so they pay the rent on time. And of course, if you want those fortunate few, have government facilities, right? Medical office building is in huge demand, and people are getting paid. Government pays the doctors pay the rent, right? That's how it works. So that's not really a bad thing, is it? It's always going to be good because it's very balanced. I mean, it's not driven by so much of supply demand, because there's always going to be inadequate supply to the demand that the economy is growing, and people, graduate, they want to go into business. People don't build as much commercial property and industrial property as they build houses. As you can see, the condos, you can build hundreds of condos at any given time. Whereas not many buildings that I'm aware of that is all office building, like a high rises today, right? Very few of those are around. Maybe so much in big city like New York City, where there's a lot of high rise buildings, and downtown, of course, where there's office buildings built like a high rise. But overall, generally speaking, across the country, in all different cities, different towns, office buildings are usually lower. They're not built in bulk and capacity as multifamily apartment buildings are, and as well as retail building, industrial building. Customers that typically stay there have been there for a long time, and they really don't have anywhere else to go to. Whereas on residential side, you can have month-by-month tenants go in and out, right? You don't get month-by-month tenants that come in and out on a commercial property. That doesn't happen, right? So you won't have a lot of transient clients that way, for one. So the tenant profile is much better, as well as liability. It's a commercial loan, and it's not connected to your personal asset that you currently have. So if any issue comes out for insurance purposes, or somebody sues you, it won't affect your commercial property, and vice versa, right? So if the commercial property, something happens there and somebody sues you, if you're a sophisticated investor and you have a mortgage broker that specialize in commercial finance, have set you up properly, your personal assets will be protected, right? We take care of you, and we position you and make sure you have the systems and process in place that you'll be fine, okay? What other questions they have? Well, another question they ask is this a good time to invest? And that comes into what I mentioned earlier. Because of pandemic time, you see a lot of restaurants closing, a lot of hotels go out of business, a lot of retail outlets going out of business, even some major ones, right? But is this a good time to invest? Well, it's the same thing they ask in the stock market. When the going gets tough, when everybody's bailing out the stock market, they're selling it, and there's a fire sale going on. Warren Buffett, what does he say, right? Buy low, right? And keep it for the long haul. So right now is probably the best time to buy, believe it or not, because cap rate has gone up, because there is not a lot of people who are brave enough to buy right now, right? The ones that are brave enough are facing a very high return. The reason being is this: less buyer in the marketplace, especially commercial property as it is. There's less competition. There's no multiple bidding offer going on. In residential right now, that actually still exists even today, right? Multiple bids still exist, whereas commercial, it's rare that ever happened. So is it a good time to buy? It is if you can hang on to it for the next few months and ride out the storm, right? And if you're fortunate enough to have a tenant in there ready that's paying, yes, then keep them. If they do go down under, well, you know, that's the risk that we take in anything that you do, really, at the end of the day. You're buying stocks for that amount. You may lose it all. Commercial property, in a sense, is way better than stocks. If you really think about it, you can lose stocks value overnight, but you can't lose real estate asset. It just doesn't go down to zero. You're going to have it regardless what happens. If there's no tenant, great. You know, maybe you may have to leverage a little bit more and be able to finance the low before you get tenants come in. But once they're in, you got 3-year, 5-year leases on these things. And if they do, say, want to get out of the lease early, they have to pay for the remaining lease no matter what happens, right? Well, if they skip town, you can always sue them. You can always go after them because it's a commercial lease. You just get, unlike residential housing, if they skip town, you got to store the stuff for like months, right? And you got to pay for storage. Whereas commercial, you just liquidate their assets and sell it. That's the law. Right? So I would buy if I have the capacity to buy today. But be very picky about what you buy, right? That's all. You want to buy an existing business, a banquet hall, probably not a good idea, right? In the future, maybe not much of a banquet hall. You might convert the banquet hall somehow. Perhaps that might be a niche there to do conversion. But if you're going to buy anything, multifamily, office building, those are great. Mixed use buildings, you know, you got the retail upstairs, the office upstairs, and you got retail space below. Those are great. Right? You can leverage that. Because if there's a resident upstairs, chances are you can still rent it out pretty easy, right? And the retail, well, if it's vacant, you get a sweet deal, right? If it's tenanted, then it's better. Last question that I'll cover, because I don't want a long video. I'll make other videos down the road to answer other questions I have. There's tons of them more that I can answer. How hard is it to finance these properties? The coolest thing about these properties is it usually debt services if you have a high cap rate, 6% or higher, you can pretty much finance 75% of it. There is just several properties that are harder to finance today, such as restaurants and hotels, motels. But aside from that, everything's still pretty good. You can finance up to 75% loan to value at most places. Some credit unions have pulled back to 65 to 70, but at least if you have a 6% cap rate or above, when the storm is over, you'll be able to finance a maximum loan to value of 75% of the value of the purchase price, right? Make sure you got the right cap rate on the return on that property, because it is specifically based on the property itself's ability to earn income to finance what the loan amount is. It's not your personal income. It's not your personal credit, which is cool, because if your credit's a little bit affected or your income's affected by COVID or any other pandemic, you're okay, because it's the properties generating the income. We can finance it. I can help you with that. Any commercial financing mortgage broker can help you with that. It's very straightforward. We'll show every step of the way how it works, what all the fees are covered, what are the potholes along the way that you need to overcome to be able to get a successful loan approval on your request, right? And that's my job. So if you have any questions other than size of this, reach out to me, Sue at commercialfinancingmastery.com. And I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Or you can also email me at sue@sharingbanksecrets.com, because that's what I'm doing, sharing bank secrets. Take care. See you on the other side.